We talk about this every time Pete from Southern Distilling comes in, but we always say it's the most fun, interesting conversations we have, to the point that we've decided that maybe we're going to make this like a monthly gathering where we're just going to have Pete come by, share some stories, tell us about booze. It's one of our favorite things, and so
one
excited.
Of my favorite things.
Yeah, I know it is, and nobody does it better. So we're so excited that Pete is here from Southern Distilling. Good to have you back, man.
Absolutely. Love it.
I know, among other things, when I say what's new, I know this is new. And for those that are watching, the Charlotte FC Southern Star double shot bottle.
Yeah, that's our new commemorative bottle. So MLS, they circulate new kits. In NFL, we would call those uniforms. In MLS, we call that a kit.
Right.
So there's a new kit launch. But essentially, it's a topo, a really cool-looking blue topo that kind of celebrates the North Carolina mountains all the way through the Piedmont, all the way to the sea. So it's a really neat nod to North Carolina. And we did a very limited launch. So those bottles are available out in ABC. But, get them while you can get them. It's a little bit of an Easter egg hunt. But I can tell you that Charlotte Mecklenburg, I think they have the last of the inventory. So get out there and search them down.
It's delicious.
It's
the same product inside, just a little different skirt on the outside.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome skirt.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, ABC has an app where you can search now. Not that I drink so much that I have to download the ABC app, but you can literally put in Southern Distilling and find out what stores around you have it or don't have it, and it makes hunting for bottles like this just a touch easier.
So the little bit of a nuance on that is that, I think the double shot is throughout all the Charlotte Mecklenburg ABC stores, but these bottles may not be.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might want to call ahead and just say, hey, do you have that limited release bottle? And once it's done, it's done. Once they're sold, it's history until next year.
And if you haven't had the double shot, it's a bourbon cream liqueur, and I've had it just on some ice. Woody was talking about putting it on ice cream.
So it's really good any way you drink it. I mean, so we call it a bourbon cream. Here's the in-house trade secret. Don't tell anybody. There's a little bit of cold brew coffee in there.
Really?
And that cold brew coffee gives it a mocha flavor, like a chocolate flavor. But I'm proud to say it is the most highly awarded and decorated bourbon cream in the world. Not made in Kentucky, made right here in North Carolina. So be proud.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And that's just one of many. I mean, I know you guys are just racking up and for those that don't know, I should say, and I think people who know that Pete's right here in the Carolinas in Statesville, and it's close to everybody, which is why Statesville
We're right in the center of the state.
Exactly.
Hence the name.
Right. And we've talked about it before that Statesville, late 1800s or something, was the
liquor capital of the world.
And really that's so fascinating. And part of it is because Statesville was so accessible.
Yeah. We had two major rail lines that intersected there. And, in those days, we didn't have paved roads, certainly didn't have interstates. Liquor is heavy. So if you needed to ship something heavy, it had to go by rail or by boat. And we were blessed with two major rail lines there, and it became a legal production hub, really for the entire country at that point in time. So we led that production. We were making bourbon in North Carolina before Kentucky was a state. So in Kentucky don't like it when I say that, but it's a fact.
Right. I actually love that. I remember something, I can't quote it, but on your FAQ page on the website, it's like one of the normal questions. And then the last one is like, you're not in Kentucky. You can't even make bourbon, can you? Or something like that. I forget, I'm butchering it, but I thought, oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So that's one of the misnomers about the industry. As long as, bourbon can be made any place in America. It cannot be made outside America.
So, now see that I don't.
Just like you can't make tequila in the U.S. It has to be made in Mexico. Canadian whiskey made in Canada. So Scotch, Scotland. Bourbon is ours, but it can be made anywhere.
They can make whiskey. They can't make bourbon.
So there you have it. So all bourbon is whiskey. Not all whiskey is bourbon.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I got that.
What about champagne? Is champagne bourbon?
I'm not going there. You have to ask Vienna about that.
Right.
Vienna's a sparkling wine connoisseur.
Right.
My partner in crime in business and my wife.
That's right.
So.
I didn't realize any of those facts that you just threw out. The only one that I might have thought was the Canadian whiskey one.
Yeah.
Because it's got Canada in the name.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The Scotch folks, our good friends in Scotland, they are really persnickety about it. So,
so there's no Scotch made outside of Scotland.
well, what we make a single malt, but we have to call that an American single malt. It's made the same way that Scotch is made in Scotland. Same process, same procedure, same grains, but I can't call it Scotch because I'm not in Scotland. And they could duplicate my bourbon, but they couldn't call it bourbon. They'd have to call it Scotch. They have to call it whiskey. It wouldn't,
That I love.
Is
that,
this stuff
I
that you
think.
knew before you were getting into the business? What
Some I did, a lot I didn't, to be honest. So we've been doing this now, 11 years? And so we learn something new. It sounds cliche, but we learn something new every day. Those things I knew coming in. Yeah.
that it was just unnecessary hassle is what it seems like. I get that when you have a domain and you have a product, you want to protect it as much as possible, but it's so broad. To your point, you are taking the same ingredients,
Yeah.
doing everything the same.
Yeah. But that's one of the things that's great about this industry. There's so much lore and nostalgia and history, and we celebrate that, and that's just one of the components, So when it is a little bit of quid pro quo, we're not going to, ruffle their feathers. They don't ruffle ours. It works out pretty well.
Yeah, everybody has their.
It's a fun
their own-
industry. It's a lot of fun, actually.
And you said 11 years. For some reason, I thought it had been longer. It feels longer, and I mean that in a positive way.
It feels like shorter to me.
Does it feel
It
shorter?
feels like a shorter period of time to me. But it is wonderful to love what you do and be able to get up in the morning and go have fun doing it with people you love. And that's really the cool thing. We got 55 fantastic team members. We're making world-class products right here in North Carolina. We're making it predominantly out of North Carolina grain. And, we just celebrated Earth Day, but one of the big things that we like to push is, our relationship to our growers. The majority of grain that we produce, it's produced using regenerative ag, comes right here from North Carolina. We're the largest distillery in the nation that can say that. That's a big deal, but it's something we're super proud of. But I mean, it's a great honor, blessing, to be able to get to do that every day.
And isn't it something like 50,000 pounds? Or is it tons?
It's
per day?
Every day, 7 days a week. We don't ever shut down. We run 24/7, 360 days a year. Every day that we run, we go through 60,000 pounds of grain.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 60,000 pounds of grain. Wow. Now, the flip side of that is what happens to all the byproducts, right?
Yeah.
Well, so those byproducts are now really, really good animal feed. So what comes out the backside of that process, we feed to cattle. So our son helps run our cattle operation. What we don't feed to our cows go to our neighbors' cows. So it's a full circle. North Carolina corn, North Carolina bourbon, North Carolina steak.
That's incredible.
And
Yeah.
milk. Some milk too.
And milk.
Some dairy.
And I know you're not going to be braggy about it, but
I'll brag.
Okay, because I know
Give
you
me
guys.
give me an opportunity. I'll brag.
Please brag, because I think people don't always know, and they may think, oh, well, that's cool. It's local, if you're in the state of North Carolina, but it's nationally renowned.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't realize that it's right here off I-77 in Statesville.
Yeah, right here off I-77.
And you can go take a tour.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
Okay, well, brag. Let me hear it. Give
Well,
somebody
I was actually riding up with Heath today. Heath manages all of our communications and social, and he's like, "Did you get my text? I didn't get it. I thought you'd be excited." I was like, "What text?" Was that? Well, we won all these awards at the San Francisco International Spirits Competition. No, I didn't get the text, but we just won as of yesterday, we were informed double gold for our Paragon wheated bourbon. And this is the same wheated bourbon that won best bourbon in the world at the New York International in 22. Different bottle, of course, but same basic product. But again, those products are produced right here, and we're really kind of punching above our weight relative to how, we're doing in the industry.
Yeah. It's congrats.
Thank you.
That's unbelievable. I've got multiple bottles at my home right now. I'm thinking about them as we speak and missing them. The other cool thing is that from every bottle is it your Southern Star
Double rye.
the double rye that goes to Purple Heart Homes?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really special relationship that we have with Purple Heart Homes. So Purple Heart Homes, again, they're doing work all over the country, but they're founded right there by good friends and neighbors in Statesville.
Yep.
And, we really, we think that giving back is hugely important. If we're fortunate enough to have all of these benefits, we want to make sure that we're doing our part to give back. But we don't like just writing a check. Mm-hmm. We like having more of that relationship. And that's one of the things that we get with Purple Heart Homes is the relationship with, with the guys that are really making that happen. So, but relative to the check, because the dollars are important, 50% of all the profit that comes from our double rye product goes back to Purple Heart Homes, and it's used in their missions to build housing for vets. Talking about Purple Heart Homes, over the past 2 years, we've hosted Take That Hill.
Yep.
And Woody's ridden each year and Take That Hill.
And I'm there and I point and laugh at Woody.
Well, you're going to be pointing at me because I was convinced to ride this year.
Oh, nice.
So I'm in process of dropping a few pounds and getting my cardio up so that I can be right there with Woody, but I'm not following him because he gets lost.
1 year in a row, I have not gotten lost.
That is impressive.
1 year in a row.
1 year in a row.
But yeah, we'll be hosting that in October, so that's always a big time, bringing people in for that event.
It is cool. That's a great time of year, and the weather is almost always perfect. And every time I go back for that event, your facility has taken on a new look. The new patio area that was a year or so ago now is incredible. And I know you guys are constantly doing new things to try and make it more appealing in different ways and all those sorts of things. What's the latest?
Well, we've been working on that event center, and I think the Take That Hill event last year was really one of the first major events that we hosted after completion. So it took about 2 years to build that. So it's pretty good size, 12,000 feet, but a lot of outdoor space, and it's really designed to kind of blend that outdoor-indoor experience because it's a pretty campus.
It is.
But one of the things that we're doing right now is just trying to introduce more events where we can bring folks in, have some food on site, have some entertainment on site, maybe screen some Charlotte FC matches there on site, a couple of NFL games. So that's kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah, it is it's one of those, the building itself has I think of them as like garage doors that open up on the side, but it's cooler than a garage door. And so it can blend the in and out. Yeah. And you can, I'm not doing it justice, but that whole idea of sort of, it can be an enclosed area when it's cold or hot, and then it can be wide open.
It's a fancy barn.
Yes. Okay.
It's a fancy barn.
Yeah. I remember last time we talked, and if this is something that we can't talk about, we'll cut it out. But there was talk of somehow having people actually stay there, like as a destination. So have you moved on that at all? That's
cool that you asked that question. So we're working on that, and that's part of a new expansion. So we're actually expanding our manufacturing capabilities. So we've been working on building a new facility, a new manufacturing plant, right beside the existing.
Okay.
So we've been working on that for about 3 years. We haven't broken ground on it yet. We're still just finished up engineering, working on permitting, but that will essentially quadruple our production.
Oh, wow.
So it'll make us one of the largest, privately held family-owned distilleries in the country when that happens. But part and parcel to that is, we want to put a couple of little mini homes out there, maybe half a dozen, and we've got that worked into the master plan.
Okay.
So people can come and they can have their experience, tour the facility, stay overnight, and then get back on the road the next day and go about their merry way. So that's part of the master plan.
And if you haven't seen the facility, you might think, well, that seems weird to go and stay, but it doesn't seem weird once you see it. Like you kind of feel like you're camping to begin with, like it's out there. And
we're north of Statesville, just north of Statesville, even though it's only 35 minutes from Charlotte, 40 minutes from Charlotte.
Right.
It's kind of out in the country.
Yeah.
And it's pretty. We've developed it to look, more like a horse farm as opposed to a manufacturing plant.
Yep.
When people are serious about their bourbon, and so, a lot of people, we've got people coming from all over the world, and they want to go through the tour, they want to experience the rick house and, maybe have a couple of cocktails and just kick back. So this gives them the opportunity to kick back.
Yeah. Big fire pit and just chill. Yeah.
I couldn't think of a better place to have like an Airbnb for that one night where you could just sit back and relax and conversations in the fire. Like that's what life should be like.
Yeah. I don't see families bringing their kids to Southern Distilling in lieu of Disney World.
Well,
but maybe for a night.
Depends on the family.
On the way.
I can see Woody doing that.
Well, my family, of course. I mean,
right.
My family's special.
Kids, if you're going to get Disney, Daddy needs bourbon.
There you have it.
Right. It's a trade-off.
I like it. I think you guys may know that last year my son and my daughter and I actually competed in the Great Race Across America. So if you're not familiar with that, just real quick, it's not a race for speed, but it's a time trial where folks that have antique cars have the opportunity to do a cross-country competition. So it takes about 2 weeks, thousands of miles, no GPS, no phones, no maps. It's pretty intense. But
I don't think I knew about that.
Yeah, but
awesome.
it's a ton of fun. So we did it last year. It's something that I've been wanting to do since I was in college.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, the Great Race came through Mooresville. They stopped overnight. My, at that time, 12-year-old daughter says, Daddy, I want to get up and go see the cars. We got up at 5 a.m. We found where they were, where they were staying. She got to sit in every single car because it's, 12-year-old little girl. Hey, sit in my car, let me get a picture.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, we got to do this. And last year was our rookie year. So at that point, my 14-year-old daughter, my 24-year-old son, he drove, she filmed, I navigated, and then a good buddy of mine was our crew chief. But we did like 4,000 miles in 9 days.
And what were you driving?
67 Pontiac Bonneville, 400 cubic inch tri-power convertible, red.
Oh, convertible.
Yeah. So, we're doing that again this year. This year it leaves from Kentucky, and then we finish up in Maine. But I think we leave on the, 22nd of June. It's the first day. But we've got a big event coming up on June 13th at the Distillery.
Okay.
So it's a car show. So bring I don't care what kind of car you bring, but bring your car, and we're going to have a big kickoff celebration as we get ready to take the team and drive up to Kentucky for the launch.
So how many end up doing the
race?
The race.
Yeah, every year it's about 200. The oldest car, I think, is 1912 American LaFrance, and the youngest is a 74.
And you're just a big pod of cars.
No, we're kind of a string of cars, but we never get on the interstate.
Yes.
It's all back roads. Oh. We leave in 1 minute increments, and then we just and it's crazy because I remember going through nowhere, Alabama. Nowhere, and there were just people sitting in chairs on the road cheering us on. And my son had this great. He was like, everybody loves old cars.
Yeah.
4-year-old kid is like pointing and laughing and waving. 90-year-old, lady is out doing the same thing. It's just this kind of common, language. But it's a big part of the culture in our family, and so it's going to be a big fun event.
That sounds fantastic.
Do you have any extra seats?
Maybe. I would tell you I get penalized, but you can come along. You can come along. So
I'm sure they would want me off the show for a couple of weeks.
The first thing I thought of was Cannonball Run, which is not what this is.
This is the opposite. It's very similar. It's a cross-country adventure. But Cannonball is all about top speed.
Right.
This is a time trial. So you can't be early, you can't be late. You got to get to the checkpoints right on time.
I see. Okay.
So I was going to, I'll tell you how bad. It's a bit intense. I was going to have my son navigate and I was going to drive. He was like, hell no. Look at all the math you got to do. I'm not doing it. I'll drive. You do all that. So I drew the short straw.
Okay. Wow. I didn't realize it was that intricate as far as arriving and departing.
It's a big deal.
Huh.
It's a big deal. You get an ace if you make your checkpoint right on time. 0 seconds early, 0 seconds late. We earned 2 aces last year, and we got a top 5, which is podium finish, which was not too bad for a couple of guys who didn't know what they were doing.
That
sounds amazing.
That is fascinating. I did not know.
It's an adventure. It's an adventure.
What was the strangest car that you saw as part of
the
that?
1912 American LaFrance, and my favorite. I got to tell you that. It's a 1912 American LaFrance fire engine that was converted to an Indy race car. And 4 cylinders, no mufflers, oil. I mean, when it parks and leaves, it looks like the Exxon Valdez had just been there. I mean, and the guys have to wear these jumpsuits because it slings oil everywhere, and face mask. When they get out, they take their mask off, and it's just black, and But we got to be really, really good friends with those guys, and we're kind of like cut from the same bolt of cloth there. But I got my honorary jumpsuit, so I don't need it, but I wear it anyway.
Oh, that's cool.
And the best part was my 14-year-old daughter got to actually go in one of the legs in the car with these guys, so it was a lot of fun.
See, this is what I love. Every time Pete comes by, and it's not always about booze. We learn stuff. Man, do we learn stuff. Well, so you can obviously go to the website, southerndistillingcompany.com, and then follow them on social media.
Yeah, Instagram.
Yeah, follow them, and we'll tag them up on everything, and because you're going to find out what the events are and get obviously the progress of how things are developing. And
well, we should do a little like report from the road during the Great Race, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course you should. Yeah.
Yes.
That's please drive responsibly.
So. Always.